Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, there's more fallout from the news that the Bucks are listening to offers for Giannis. Which teams have the best potential trade package? We're going to debate that. Plus, did LeBron James last night hint at a possible retirement?
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today, we're talking about which teams are expected to make strong offers for Giannis, and we've got another round of Make It, Take It that we'll get to here in a second. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always. From the Locked On Nuggets podcast, senior NBA writer for the Action Network, it's Matt Moore. Matt?
Jalen Tyson's good. I was really skeptical of that kid early in the season. I was like, really, Cavs? I feel like we're just trying to make fetch a thing here. He's good, man. He was all over the floor last night in the Cavaliers blowout of the Lakers. Jalen Tyson might be making Darius Garland a little easier to move on from.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report, it's Haize.
No Dean Wade report there, Matt? Nothing there?
I've heard he wants out. And 29 teams should be calling Haize.
One team that will not be making any trades is Locked On NBA. We got the perfect group here.
Yes, we do. And I don't know who the Dean Wade or the Jalen Tyson is of this group, but we'll leave that to the listeners to decide. Let's start with the latest on Giannis. Haize and I reacted to everything just moments after the news broke on yesterday's show. And since then, there's been a lot more reporting on this whole situation. It seems that right now that the most aggressive suitors, according to multiple reports, are the Warriors, Heat, Knicks, and Timberwolves. There are some other teams in there, but we'll have time to discuss those teams maybe later on. But I thought we could go through each of the packages that those quote-unquote aggressive teams can offer. Let's start with the Golden State Warriors, whose package would start with Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and draft picks, at least presumably, according to this the latest reporting. Here's more from Locked On Warriors.
Warriors willing to offer a Jonathan Kuminga, Jimmy Butler headline package with draft picks for Giannis, per Sports Illustrated's Chris Mannix. If you can get 5 years of prime Giannis, all of a sudden that future that looks so bleak isn't so bleak off of one trade.
Even if you only get 2 or 3 more years of the Giannis we know now, those are 2 years with Steph Curry. You couldn't pass up the opportunity. It's going to cost you not just picks in the next couple, like it's every pick you have available to trade. At least one of those is likely to be post Steph and late Giannis. You're going to be giving up some stuff. And obviously, Jimmy Butler is some stuff too.
So we also have Anthony Slater from ESPN reporting this morning that the Warriors are willing to go all in for Giannis in a way that they maybe have not been willing to go all in for players in the past. Matt, I want to go to you first here. Should they be going in all in for Giannis, considering the age of Steph Curry and all this stuff? You look like it's a ridiculous question. I think it probably is.
Yes, of course you go all in. Look, you're already sunk here. You've already been like, hey, we're going to try and win with Steph and Draymond. You do whatever necessary. This conversation is insane to me. I get the picks. I get, like, after Steph's gone, the picks are probably going to be terrible. I get it. I understand, like, that part of it. They're not going to be good enough to justify this. Hey, here's a 37-year-old malcontent who makes everyone miserable around him when he doesn't want to be there, coming off ACL surgery. Here's Jonathan Kuminga, who the Hall of Fame coach literally won't play after they paid him. Here's Moses Moody, who's pretty good. This is insane. Like, I would do anything before this package. It is horrible. From the Warriors' perspective, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. You went all in on a 37-year-old dude who tore his ACL. You've made all this mistake with Jonathan Kuminga. You walk away with Giannis for 3 years. Even if it doesn't work, it's the right move. It moves you further closer. It just gets you that much closer. You go from being like, oh, hey, maybe you'll make the playoffs, to, oh, you're going to make the playoffs, and like you will have a good shot against Denver, San Antonio, and probably OKC. Yes, you do this if you're the Warriors. The Bucks need to avoid this one like the plague. It is a terrible offer.
I'm going to push back on that in a little bit, in just a little. I don't completely disagree with Matt, but let me offer this perspective. it really matters how much the Milwaukee Bucks view how good those off Steph year pick can be. Because the picks they can offer a pick in 2030, 2032, 2028. If they view that once Steph does finally leave, if that Warriors team is absolutely terrible, you could be talking about 2, 3, top 5 to top 10 picks. So how they value those picks, I think, is what determines the Jimmy Butler. It's neither here nor there. Jonathan Kuminga, maybe you can look at it as a young talent that he'll do nothing but be able to take shots. But it's really about those picks. How much do you value those picks after Steph's era is done?
Do we remember what the Rockets did with the Suns, right? And when they were like, man, they're going to have the Suns picks. Oh, my God. Yeah, the Suns are pretty good. Like, they're pretty good now, right? And you're like, well, how are the Warriors going to do that? What if they hit on a draft pick? What if they move a player?
They won't have any, Matt. They won't have any. They won't have any draft picks to hit on.
They will, because you have to be able to move in between, right? Like the Stepien rule says that you still can't move back-to-back years.
Yes, but some of those years Steph will still be there.
Yeah, and even if you include the swaps, right? Like even if you include like this, but what about the swaps? Because that's going to be the answer. What about the swaps? All right, you're terrible. The Warriors are just slightly less terrible. Like you're in the 4th pick range, and the Warriors are still terrible, but they're the 6th worst team in the league. Your swap is no longer valuable. Then what if they hit with that pick and all of a sudden it's like, no, they got like a franchise guy and they're just decent. I don't mind. I know the value of the draft, especially in the CBA that they built. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's just like, look, man, you're giving them too much time to figure out how to avoid giving you awesome picks. We haven't seen this work out. The Lakers didn't give the Pelicans awesome picks. We haven't seen that translate yet.
Yeah, but that's also because the Pelicans did draft Zion, and they got some talent down there, even though they're not great teams. But I think I get what you're getting. That's what I don't completely disagree with you. It really matters on how they value that, because let's also say this: the Warriors haven't drafted too great.
Well, the other part about this too is, yes, maybe those picks, those out-year picks, are valuable. Do they have the patience to get there? Does the guy, in large part helping make this decision, general manager John Horst, does he even think he'll be in charge of it by 2030, 2032, right? If you're not getting that stuff immediately, that can at least provide some kind of hope. And I don't, like Jimmy Butler, you're taking that back. People are just throwing him in as a salary match. That's another thing that you have to deal with. Jimmy Butler coming off of an ACL. That's and you don't just flip him for draft picks. We saw what the market for Jimmy Butler was. It was basically just the Warriors.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan Kuminga coming off of an injury. The market has also kind of spoken on him. These aren't necessarily like blue chip type of guys coming back that help you in the short term.
Yeah, I to me, this offer is the definably worst of all of their options. I genuinely think Miami can put together a better package.
So the Heat package here then would be something like Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier's expiring contract, Kel'el Ware presumably has to be a part of that, and then they can offer up to 2 first-round picks and a bunch of swaps also. But that's where their package would. So not as much draft capital, Haize, but you get a good young player coming back in Kel'el Ware, who I think most people are higher on him than Kuminga. He's also a lot cheaper than Kuminga. And then you get a little bit of salary cap relief because of Rozier's expiring, which is not what you're going to be getting from the Jimmy Butler contract. And then Tyler Hero, Milwaukee native, fun story. You can put that in the press release, I guess. That's kind of interesting. And Hero's a good player, like a former All-Star when he's healthy. That's also worth mentioning here. That's probably the starting point of any kind of Heat package, Haize. How does that compare to the Golden State package?
I mean, you get better players now. I don't think, and that's what's so hard to view this by, because like, is Milwaukee ready to be bad for a few years? Like, are they just ready, or are they going to try to get as much young talent back as they can? Kel'el Ware is a hell of a piece, better than either Jonathan Kuminga or Jimmy Butler for sure, as far as this long term in regards to that team and where they are. The picks, I think the picks are almost a wash. So yeah, they convey sooner. So maybe there's that part of it. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, if you're not trading them at this trade deadline, I may wait till the offseason and see where the draft picks fall in 2026 draft and then say, call me, because that's where the value is if you want the immediate value.
Okay, first off, Wes, get back on screen.
Uh-oh.
Hawkes and Jovic are going. Stop it. Stop it.
Hawkes is probably part of that, yeah.
And Jovic. Stop.
Jovic is interesting because of the poison pill thing. You got to make the money work. But yeah, if not Jovic, maybe you get Kasparis, Yakachonis. It's like the Bucks. It's like your choice of the young guys. You can figure out how to make the money more.
Like I just don't want the Heat doing the thing where it's like, well, we won't give you our young guys because they're so good. No, like you have to give them some level of prospect, which by the way, the
Yes.
Warriors do not. Like I would rather have Jovic, Jakaciunas, Hawkes over Jonathan Kuminga.
If you give
By, like,
those three, then absolutely, it's a way better. It's a way better deal.
two of
I
the
did
three.
s-
Even if they
yeah.
put poison pill with Jovic, fine, right? I actually think this is probably a good opportunity to be like, hey, you add salary, you can dump other guys next year, and then have the like. This is actually not a bad situation. I think to use a poison pill, given where the Bucks are at financially. I don't think the Bucks need to be looking for salary dump. Like I would tell the Heat, hey, you need to find a third team for Tyler, and we want whatever you get for that. You need to find a third team for the Rozier contract, and we want whatever you get from that.
Quickly with these other two teams, because they were mentioned, Haize, the Knicks, the Timberwolves, they don't have anything. The Knicks have swaps and some contracts. Maybe they can move OJ Anunoby. It's so hard for the Knicks to pull it off. Ditto for the Timberwolves. They have one first-round swap that they can move in 2028. The idea is there another move that they could do for Julius Randle or McDaniels that they could do beforehand to go get some stuff that they can go use to then get Giannis? I don't want to spend a ton of time on them just because, and maybe you disagree, maybe you agree, like this, that feels maybe more of like an offseason thing. Like if Giannis is still on the Bucks after the trade deadline, that's probably when the Knicks and the Timberwolves get more involved here. Is that fair to say, you think?
I agree with that. I think, yeah, that would be more, especially the Timberwolves. Like you said, they don't have any outright first round picks that they can trade. None. Like, and what are you going to give them? TSJ, Rob Dillingham?
All right. Matt, quick.
We can't do this quick. I'm sorry. We cannot do this quick. You guys are out of your minds. The way to do this is you find the third team. You find a team that is like, we need scoring punch. We have assets. We'll take Towns. We'll give you X player and pick. And then that goes to Milwaukee. The options for 3-team trades with New York and Minnesota vastly, I mean vastly, outweigh anything from Miami or Golden State. These are your best options. You call Atlanta and you like, if you get Rudy Gobert, what's the pick you're willing to give up? We'll take on the KP expiring. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I'm interested because the Wolves are going to be like, we have Juan Berenger and we're going to get Giannis. Like that becomes really interesting. The value of these players, because they're actually good, is way better than the Heat and the Warriors packages. This is how you do it. You go to those two teams and you'd be like, find third teams. And that's how you work this. People will want Towns. People will want Jaden McDaniels. People will want Julius Randle. Like these are good players as opposed to what Miami and Golden State have to offer.
So you think that this is something, given the limited time frame, this is something that could potentially get done between now and the trade deadline?
Yes. The other one I'm going to tell you is I keep looking at Houston. Do not put that away.
Well, it came out today that they're not looking to trade for Giannis. You don't believe that? You think it's smoke screening?
I don't.
Screen? Okay.
I think it's legit, Haize. I think it depends on who you ask in that organization because I do not think they're on the same page.
Could another team trump all of these offers by sending a young all-star player to Milwaukee? Make it take it is next. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your entire life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction possible. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert just for $150, all in if TurboTax didn't file your taxes last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We are Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. It's Make It Take It Thursday. You know the rules. 2 takes, 1 winner. Matt, you won last week, so you're going to get the rock first. We'll start with Giannis. And one team that is mentioned a lot as a potential suitor ever since really the Trae Young trade is the Atlanta Hawks. But any deal for Giannis presumably would have to include Jalen Johnson. So, first question, first to you, Matt. Should the Hawks be willing to trade 24-year-old Jalen Johnson in a package for 31-year-old Giannis?
No, and it's the idea here is always that the young guys, we can't trade them. They could be anything. They could even be half of Giannis, right? You can't. So that gets into a tight spot there. But you got to remember here, the bigger thing is just that if you trade for Giannis, you need to be able to compete for championships outright. Now, I don't think there's any way that this happens, because if Giannis already was going to Atlanta, he'd be like, I'd rather stay than go to Atlanta. And the Bucks would be like, cool. So that's part of the thing. You can't trade for Giannis because he doesn't want to be there. 2, you can't trade for Giannis because you're not close enough. Like, this team is like a 500 middling. They've shown some flashes, right? And you're like, oh, we have Giannis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and maybe Porzingis is healthy. What does that get you? Does that get you an Eastern Conference Finals appearance? Maybe. You can't trust KP to be healthy. You just can't. You can't do that. You don't have the young talent behind him. Risa now all of a sudden becomes just expendable more than he already is. You don't have the point guard play next to Giannis to space the floor. Like, there's no reason for the Hawks to do this. They can't include Jalen Johnson because they need to build themselves up to be ready for the next Giannis and not trade for Giannis now.
Yeah, I know this may not give me the points, but I agree with Matt. I'm not even going to try to cook up some counter argument to that. Like, like Jalen Johnson is too good. In the point where you are now, if you were going to make this trade for Giannis, you should have just kept Trae Young. That would have been the smarter decision. But now you've already made this move for this young core, to build around this young core. To Matt's point, they're not nearly close enough. And honestly, if you traded Jalen Johnson and you brought in Giannis, because it's not just going to be Jalen Johnson, you now have less assets. You're just Milwaukee and Atlanta. You're just same thing. You're just Milwaukee and Atlanta, and you're going to be struggling in the same way that Milwaukee has. Yeah, you got Giannis, you got a star there, but you still need the structure. Giannis is shown around the structure, and with even the 5 calf injuries in 18 months, like, they already aren't having injury luck. It's not the time for them to make that move.
Yeah, the Jalen Johnson piece of this, it just, you have a more open window. You have a longer window with Jalen Johnson than they do with Giannis, and if we think that you can't maximize the Giannis window, then there's really no point in doing it. Points to Matt there. Let's go to LeBron James. Quite the scene last night. LeBron, who was playing what could be his last game in Cleveland, was moved to tears during a first quarter tribute video, and after the game he said, quote, "I'm just trying to take everything in, not take the moments for granted, because it could be my last season. I obviously haven't made a decision on the future, but it very well could be," end quote. Matt, back to you. After last night, are you more convinced now that this could be LeBron's last year?
No, I am not. Everything with LeBron is calculated. And it's not that I don't think he had emotions. I think he genuinely had emotions, but everything is calculated. There's too much money to be made with a retirement tour. There's too much money to be made specifically with a retirement tour in Cleveland. Like, it's going to be him in Cleveland that final year. There's already a report that they would welcome him back with open arms next season. They're going to have the ability to go ahead and add him. It would be a great add for a team that's in playoff contention to add a player of his caliber in a lesser role. That's actually really perfect for them. The billboard outside is going to be the big arms outstretched with "We were all witnesses." There's going to be shirts. There's going to be t-shirts. There's going to be like retirement tour merch out the wazoo, and Nike and LeBron are going to make so much money off of it. There's too much money for him to walk away. I know he doesn't need it, but the man knows how to he is a business man. So I will maintain this is all part of the setup for him to return to Cleveland for his final year.
See, while I want to agree with Matt, we assume that they don't have documentary cameras following LeBron this whole time anyway, and there's going to be a documentary that comes out on Netflix shortly after he announces his retirement to get all that money back. So while I do think LeBron's going to want a farewell tour, I don't count anything. Like, sometimes you just realize, like, you don't need all the bump in circumstance. You just you get it done. He did what he did. It's hard for me to imagine LeBron not going out without a farewell tour, but I wouldn't count it out completely. Like, LeBron's been dramatic his whole career. Maybe sometimes you just got to stop the dramaticism and just retire and ride off into the sunset, having the great career that you had.
Do you really want the Netflix special about, like, oh, Genie completely stabbed him in the back and they just completely gutted him from underneath?
It's drama.
Like, but he's the victim on his way out. Is that how he wants his final year to go?
Yeah, you get, well, they won't be the victim because it'll be like he still triumphed over. He went out on his way.
It's gonna be the victim overcome. It's gonna be
the documentary, and then you get the Hulu special where they hire somebody to reenact everything. Absolutely.
Points to Haize on this. I love the idea of LeBron James just staging these individual moments. Like this moment here in Cleveland will be such a set piece in the documentary. Netflix, Apple, Amazon, whoever does it. Like, I love the idea of LeBron just doing his Taylor Swift Eras Tour documentary at the end of this thing. Like, I'm all in on that.
it's one of those. Like, wow, it's weird. You don't see Luka a single time in this entire series.
Did Bronny play like every game? This is crazy. It's so weird.
It's crazy.
Last one here. Tough news for the Rockets. Steven Adams underwent season-ending surgery on his left ankle Wednesday. He was already hurt. This is now the surgery that's going to end his season. Is this one injury too many for the Rockets to overcome and still be considered contenders? Haize, back to you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Steven Adams plays such an important role for toughness, a backup center. He can start at times for that team as well. You had that with the Fred VanVleet injury, and it seems like now they have to make a trade. Before it's like, okay, they may make a trade at the trade deadline, a smaller trade that doesn't really mess up anything future for them. I think now this may put the Rockets in a position where they may have to make a trade, whether that's for a big or a point or something to just bring a little bit more balance to that team. So I think that's what this signals. The Rockets are where I had them as 50-50 make a trade at the trade deadline. I'll say probably about 85% now to make a move at the trade deadline.
I'll say they were never actually contenders, that we all were just kind of telling ourselves that they were. If you really kind of look at this, look, the numbers are still good. 4th in offense, 7th in defense, schedule adjusted, 2nd best in net rating. But if you watch them, that does not line up. Like sometimes you just do have to use your eyes and see, be like, all right, does the team have it? This team knows they don't have it. Last night I thought it was really interesting that a couple of people noted last night was the first time it looked like they quit versus San Antonio. Adams was kind of holding them up because of the magic of those two big lineups, but those two big lineups were always going to be counterable in a playoff environment. They don't match up well with Denver. They don't match up well with San Antonio. They match up better with OKC, but OKC is way better than them in every single aspect. I just think they were probably further than we kind of thought. And we were, caught in by the KD stuff and all this kind of talent. I'm really fascinated to see what Houston's going to do from here on out, because they're coming to a branch in the road where it's like, if you want to win a title with KD, you might have to make decisions that impact your future. And that gets really uncomfortable for a front office versus a coaching staff that has a lot of say in the organization.
You could also argue that maybe the Rockets were not contenders as soon as Fred VanVleet went down with the season-ending injury, which I think we talked about at the time. Matt, I'm going to give you the points there because I agree. I don't think that this team was ever a contender. I don't think that the Steven Adams injury necessarily impacted that one way or the other. To Haize's point, though, it does feel like a trade needs to happen soon. But we're not going to try to fix the Houston Rockets right now. Instead, we're going to play a game called Fix the Franchise and try to fix a different team that can really use our help out west. It's coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions that you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. I love how it tracks all of my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. Also, the automatic transaction categorization is a game changer. I can finally see exactly where all my money is going every month. You could set budgets and goals, get personalized insights, and receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, and low balances. It even consolidates your checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard so you get a clear view of your entire financial picture. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network is a show for every team. Check out Locked On Bucks, Locked On Warriors, Locked On Heat, Locked On Lakers, all the Locked On shows for more on the Giannis story and all of today's top stories. This is a new game that we're going to call Fix the Franchise, where we each get 45 seconds to make our pitch, including one trade, a coaching change if we think it's needed, our roster philosophy, and a timeline that we need for a reset for a franchise. Looking at tonight's games, the Kings are 12-point underdogs in Philadelphia. They've lost 6 in a row. They can use our help, boys. Let's fix the Sacramento Kings. Each host gets 45 seconds for their pitch. Haize, you go first.
I don't need 45 seconds. Sell the franchise to Seattle, move them to Seattle, become the Seattle Seahawks. At that point, at least then people will actually care about you and you'll be in a city that cares. And then you may be able to start getting players there and start doing things that are smart. The Sacramento Kings, when you look at where the light the beam team is till now, it's just a calamity of just errors. So sell the team, trade everyone, start afresh, start anew. That's what you need to do.
Haize says rage quit. Matt, what about you?
Oh man, that's really sad. I will never give up on on teams like the Kings. One, how dare you say about them leaving? That team did so much. That fan base did so much to keep that team. They love that franchise, and they deserve an opportunity to keep them with have good days in their future. There's two things I kind of want to suggest here. The first one is a pretty simple one. Call up the Blazers, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to send them to Sabonis. The son goes to the Blazers, okay? They get a scoring punch, which they desperately need. You take on Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, Matisse Thybulle, Donovan Clingan. Donovan Clingan's the big one here. And 2 first-round picks. One is protected, heavily protected, because it's Sabonis and the Kings are up against it. The Blazers also get Malik Monk. Now the Blazers have scoring punch, defense, Avdia, and Sabonis, and Young Hansen to boost all of their all-star stuff and viewers and money and all that stuff.
I have to call Cap here. Why are so many players you claim you don't like now on the Kings? You're really trying to help them, Matt?
So here's the thing. Grant's got a $32 million deal on the next 3 years. So next year, you're going to be able to be like, hey, he's only got 2 years left on his deal. You get a versatile wing who's a forward. It's going to be easier to move him. You can move Jeremy Grant easier than the Blazers can because you're not committed to him. You're not trying to compete with him. You're just like, hey, we have a good forward. What do you want for him? You're taking on Robert Williams. It's expiring contract at $13 million. You're taking on Matisse Thybulle, expiring contract at $11 million. Now, I don't like teams like the Kings taking on money, but what this does is this allows you to reset your books, and you can go to other teams and be like, if you need to dump money, we'll take it for the picks. That's what the Kings really need to do. And you get Donovan Clingan, who, if you go look, that kid is really good. He is an absolute.
This is where I'm pushing back. If I'm Portland, there's no way in the world I'm trading Clingan for Sabonis. No way.
They need the scoring punch. If you want to compete right now, your timeline is, if you want to try and make it right now, Sabonis immediately puts you out of the play-in tournament and probably at least at the 7. Yeah. And now you're actually able to kind of like compete for them. Like, you're a serious team with Sabonis. I understand how you feel about Sabonis, Wes, but like, he's a rebounding monster.
Yep.
He's gritty as heck. You can build an offense around him with the weapons that you have. He fits well with Avdia. I understand how good Avdia is with the lob to Clingan. They will be able to work together, Sabonis and Avdia.
Is that so that's your pitch?
That's one. I got another one.
You want more on this pitch or like a separate pitch?
A separate pitch.
Okay, so I'll give you my counter to this pitch because you're right. I like Sabonis. I actually think you keep him if you're Sacramento. I think you just keep him and just try to build with him instead. My trade is a lot smaller in scale. I would trade if I'm Sacramento, Dennis Schroeder to Orlando, and I would go get Goga Batadze, and you have to throw Tyus Jones in there. His expiring for salary matching purposes. So I'm just going to get Goga. That's all I want to do. I'm doing that right now between now and the trade deadline, and I'm changing up my coach this offseason. I'm going to go get Chris Quinn from the Miami Heat. Analytical, young, can bring in like all that Heat culture-y stuff that they keep talking about in the front office that they want to try to emulate. He's got a history of helping development, which I think is really important to an organization like the Sacramento Kings. Go hire Chris Quinn. Go add more centers and all this stuff, because I think for my roster philosophy, I want to lean into what my best player does well, Sabonis, which is rebounding and physicality. And that's why I'm adding a guy like Goga, because he's another version of that. And I'm going to just crush the margins on offensive rebounding. I'm going to look at what the Houston Rockets and the Boston Celtics and some of these other teams are doing in terms of the offensive boards, and I'm saying, let's do that because that's what suits our best player. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll figure out the rest. My timeline, I need 2 years. Give me at least 2 years. Levine comes off the books. We'll just do that. Nobody in their right mind is going to take on that Levine contract right now. Maybe when it's expiring, I'll be able to move it. We'll have a good pick in this draft in 2026. So I'll have Sabonis. I'll have a player who I'm going to take with this pick and a coach who can properly develop that star player potentially. That's what I'm going to do. That's my pitch.
It's pretty good. I really like the Chris Quinn side of this. That's a really good pitch. Chris Quinn, I like the kind of the numbers of it. We're just going to dominate offensive rebounding. Going into one specific edge, I think is always like a really smart one. I've been thinking a lot about how some of the best teams, they just win the possession battle. Like if you just win the possession battle, you're ahead of so many of these other teams, which I think is really fascinating. I don't mind it. I just think that you need to be able to give the fans like a little bit of a new look here. I have another one that is going to look pretty ugly. I need you to hear me out on it. Are you guys ready for this?
All right, lay it out.
You don't have it formatted, so I'm going to show it. Okay. It's a 4-team trade.
What is this?
My eyes
4-team trade for the listener who's listening on podcast, whether as instead of at youtube.com/LockedOnNBA, Giannis goes to the Knicks, Kyle Kuzma goes to the Knicks, and Colin Sexton goes to the Knicks. They get a backup point guard. Zach LaVine, who Wes says is untradeable, which is largely true, goes to the Bucks because next year he'll be an expiring contract. That's pretty valuable. Miles Bridges goes to the Bucks. They already have interest in him. He's going to be an expiring contract. Pakomodai that goes to the Bucks. That's just like a throw in. Keon Ellis, who 14 teams want. That's not a star blue chipper like they want, but they do get that. They're of course going to get all of the assets from the Bucks. The big key here is that the Hornets are going to get OG Anunoby and Yabusele for Miles Bridges. And in sending that out, they're going to be able to justify sending out draft capital. They don't need all these picks. They've got Khan, they've got LaMelo, they've got Brandon Miller, they've got a center in Kalkbrenner. They're pretty set. So they can afford to be like, yeah, we could send some draft capital here. And they're going to send stuff to both the Bucks to help with the Knicks package for it, and the Kings, who are going to get Karl Anthony Towns. And you're like, why would the Kings do this? Look at what they're getting, like what they're giving up here. The Kings are giving up Keon Ellis, who they're already shopping, and Zach LaVine. And in return for that, they get Towns to pair with Sabonis. You want to talk about rebounding? They will rebound absolutely everything. Oh, but the defense is going to be terrible. Lean in. You go offense. That's what you're going to do. You're going to burn that. You're going to get draft capital. You're going to be able to clear some space. It's going to allow you to reset some things and take on more money later. And you can flip Towns next year on an expiring contract. You got to think about the future here, Wes.
Okay, you put that graphic on the screen, my eyes started to bleed, and then through the blood, I saw Karl Anthony Towns in Sacramento, and I was like, Matt's big fix is to put Cat on the Kings? That's how we're fixing the franchise? Then you talked me through it. I don't hate it. I kind of am interested in like a high-low action between Cat and Sabonis. I'd watch that. Why not?
And I get that you're going to be like, this only puts them back on the mediocrity treadmill. That's so much better than where they've been for the last 25 years.
I don't hate it.
And
I don't hate it.
It opens the door for being able to move more guys. The bigger thing here is they would have to be like a setup for other stuff. Like then you're like, we're moving DeRozan, right? You moved off LaVine. We're moving DeRozan next. And then you can kind of start thinking about things. And if you have to, you could be like, hey, we're having a fire sale with Towns and Sabonis, and you'll be able to get quite a bit. I think it gives them a lot more options if they can just get off the LaVine contract and add a player like Towns.
It also puts Giannis on the Knicks, which is sort of the under-discussed part of that entire situation.
Yeah.
Haize, what do you think?
I mean, it's. I love thinking that Matt was sitting there with strings trying to fit all this together.
Yep.
That alone makes it a win.
Yep.
This is a fun. Practice here. I like this exercise. We fixed the Sacramento Kings. We either did it with Goga Batadze, Karl Anthony Towns, or
I have to do one more. Sorry, the one that I actually want them to do, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. Whether it's in a four-way deal with the Bucks. If there's one guy, what they need to do is they need to do what the Pacers did with Tyrese Halliburton. You find a team that's good, that has a young player that's entering his prime, who no one realized, like the market doesn't realize how good he is. You go to Toronto and you're like, we want RJ Barrett. We'll help you go get whatever it is that you want to get. You want to get a center, we'll help you get Towns. You want a wing or an upgrade or or just like a normal move, whatever you want. We want RJ Barrett. We'll send assets to help you get RJ Barrett. We want Keon Ellis goes to whatever team wants him, and you get whatever you want. We want RJ Barrett. That's the guy that I would be circling over and over again if I was the Kings.
It'll be fascinating, by the way. You said 14 teams trying to get Keon Ellis. It'll be fascinating to see how the Kings ultimately screw this up. It's going to be fascinating. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.